everyone. I'm Melissa here, and welcome to your Melissa Moment. Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa here. Welcome to your Melissa Moment, and welcome to Turn the Page Thursday. We are continuing to read through Stephen King, You Like It Darker, collection of short stories. Last week we started a new short story in this book, Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. So if you missed last week, please go back and listen or watch it. Otherwise, this may not make any sense to you. I am going to do a quick little recap though. So from what I remember, Danny Coughlin had a very vivid dream about going to an abandoned gas station. And at this abandoned gas station, he stumbled across a hand that was sticking out of the gravel, and the hand had a charm bracelet on it. He woke up and could not forget this dream. It kept coming to him, and he started to do some research and found out that this abandoned gas station in his dream actually exists. And he made a plan to go out there. What else do we know? Danny is a custodian at a high school, and it's summertime. He has a couple students who are working with him over the summer. He has an ex-wife. They're on fairly good terms now, but they did have some issues in the past because he used to be an alcoholic, but he is now in recovery. His ex-wife and him do get along quite well now. She has a new partner. She's expecting he's going to propose to her soon. She's actually asked Danny if he'll come to the wedding, so they do get along quite well right now. That is all I remember from last week. If I'm missing anything of importance, please put it down in the comments. But let's jump right in here and read a few of the little chapters and see what happens, because I want to know. Unlike many men of his age and station, Danny doesn't drink, not now anyway, doesn't smoke, doesn't chew. He likes pro sports and might put $5 down in the Super Bowl just to make it interesting, but otherwise he doesn't gamble, not even $2 scratch tickets on payday. Nor does he chase after women. There's a lady in his trailer park he visits from time to time. Becky's what used to be called a grass widow, but that's more of a casual friendship than what the afternoon talk shows call a relationship. Sometimes he stays over at Becky's place. Sometimes he brings her a bag of groceries or babysits her daughter if Beck has errands to run or an early evening hair appointment. There's plenty of get-along between them, but love ain't in it. On Saturday morning, he packs his dinner bucket with a couple of sandwiches and a piece of the cake Becky brought over after he wired up the tailpipe of her old Honda Civic. He fills his thermos with black coffee and heads north. He thinks he'll feel like eating if he takes a look behind that deserted gas station and finds nothing. If he sees what he saw in his dream, probably not. The GPS on his phone gets him to Gunnell by 10:30. The day is all Kansas, hot and bright and clear, and not very interesting. The town is nothing but a grocery store, a farm supply store, a cafe, and a rusty water tower with Gunnell on the side. 10 minutes after leaving it, he comes to Country Road F and turns onto it. It's tar, not packed dirt. Nevertheless, his stomach is tight and his heart is beating hard enough so he can feel it in his neck and his temples. Corn closes in on both sides. Feed corn, not eating corn. As in his dream. It's not yet as high as an elephant's eye, but it looks good for late June and will be 6 feet by the time August rolls around. The road is tarvy, and that's different from the goddamn dream, he thinks. But only 2 miles along, the tar quits, and then it's packed dirt. A mile after that, he stops dead in the road, which is no problem since there's no traffic. Just ahead on his right is a country road sign, which has been defaced with spray paint, so it reads, Cunt road fuck. There's no way he saw that in his dream. But he did. The road is rising now. When he goes another quarter of a mile, maybe even less, he will see the squat shape of the abandoned gas station. Turn around, he thinks. You don't want to go there and nobody's making you, so just turn around and go home. Except he can't. His curiosity is too strong. She apparently thought I was talking to her. His curiosity is too strong. Also, there's the dog. If it's there, it will eventually disinter the body. Visiting further violation on a girl or woman who has already suffered the ultimate violation of being murdered. Letting that happen would haunt him worse and longer than the dream itself. Does he know for a fact that the hand belongs to a female? Yes, because of the charm bracelet. Does he know for a fact that she was murdered? Why else would someone have buried her behind a deserted gas station somewhere north of Hoot and south of Holler? He drives on. The gas station is there. The rusty tin signs out front read $1.99 for regular, $2.19 for mid-grade, and $2.49 for high octane, just as they did in his dream. There's a light breeze here at the top of the rise, and the signs go tinka, tinka, tinka against the steel pole on which they are mounted. Danny pulls onto the cracked and weed-sprouting tarmac, careful to stay clear of the busted glass. His tires aren't new, and the spare is so bald it's showing cord in a couple of places. The last thing he wants, the last thing in the world, is to be stranded out here. He gets out of his truck, slams the door, and jumps at the sound it makes. Stupid, but he can't help it. He's pretty well scared to death. Somewhere in the distance, a tractor is blading. It might as well be on another planet as far as Danny's concerned. He can't remember ever feeling this utterly alone. Walking around the station is like re-entering his dream. His legs seem to be moving on their own with no direction from the control room. He kicks aside a deserted oil can. Havoline, of course. He wants to pause at the corner of the cinder block building long enough to visualize seeing nothing at all. But his legs carry him around without a pause. They are relentless. The rusty trash barrel is there, overturned and spilling its crap. The dog is there too. It's standing at the edge of the corn, looking at him. Damn mutt was waiting for me, Danny thinks. It knew I was coming. This should be a stupid idea, but it's not. Standing here miles from the nearest human being, living human being that is, he knows it's not. He dreamed of the dog and the dog dreamed of him. Simple. Fuck off, Danny yells and claps his hands. The dog gives him a baleful look and limps away into the corn. Danny turns to his left and sees the hand. Or what's left of it. And more. The stray has been busy. It has exhumed part of a forearm. Bone glimmers through the flesh, and there are bugs. But there's enough left for him to see that the person buried here is white. And there's a tattoo above the charm bracelet. It looks like either rope or a circlet of barbed wire. He could tell which if he went closer, but he has no urge to go closer. What he wants is to get the hell out of here. But if he leaves, the dog will come back. Danny can't see it, but he knows it's close, watching, waiting to be left alone with its early lunch. He goes back to his truck, gets his phone out of the glove compartment, and just looks at it. If he uses it, he's gonna look guilty as shit. But that goddamn dog. An idea comes to him. The trash barrel is on its side. He tips it all the way over, sliding out a pile of crap, but no rats, thank God. Under the rust, it's solid steel. Has to go 35 pounds. He clasps it under his midsection, sweat rolling down his cheeks, and walks it to the hand and forearm. He lowers it and steps back, brushing off the rust from his shirt. Will that be enough? Or will the dog be able to tip it over? Hard to say. Danny goes around to the front of the station and pries up 2 good-sized chunks of the crumbling concrete. He takes them around back and stacks them on top of the overturned barrel. Good enough? He thinks so. For a while, anyway. If the dog decides to batter at the barrel to get what's beneath, one of those chunks is apt to fall off and bonk it on the head. Good so far. Now what? By the time he gets to his truck, his head is a little clearer, and he has an idea of how he should go. He starts the engine and backs around to head south, once more being careful not to roll over any of the broken glass. A farm truck goes by, headed north. It's hauling a small open trailer filled with lumber. The driver, Gimme cap yanked down to the top of his ears, stares grimly ahead, taking no notice of Danny, which is good. When the farm truck is over the rise, Danny pulls out and heads back the way he came. On the outskirts of Thompson, he stops in at a Dollar General and asks if they sell prepaid cell phones, what are called burners in some of the TV programs he watches. He's never bought such an item and thinks the clerk will probably direct him elsewhere, maybe to the Walmart in Belleville. But the clerk points him to aisle 5. There are lots of them. But the track phone seems to be the cheapest. There's no activation fee, and it comes with instructions. Danny takes his wallet out of his hip pocket, ready to pay with his Visa, and then asks himself if he was born dumb or just grew that way. He puts it back and takes his folding money out of his left front pocket instead. He pays with that. The clerk is a young guy with acne and a scruffy soul patch. He gives Danny a grin and asks him if he's gonna kick some chickens on Tinder. He calls Danny bro. Danny has no idea what he's talking about, so just tells the clerk he doesn't need a bag. The young guy says no more, only rings Danny up and gives him his receipt. Outside the door, Danny drops the receipt in a handy trash can. He wants no record of the transaction. All he wants is to report the body. The rest is up to the people who investigate things for a living. The sooner he can get this business behind him, the better. The idea of letting it go entirely never crosses his mind. Sooner or later, that dog, maybe with others, will tip the barrel over to get at the meat beneath. He can't let that happen. Someone's wife or daughter is buried behind that abandoned station. 2 miles down the road, he parks in a little rest area. There are 2 picnic tables and a porta-john. That's the whole deal. Danny pulls in, opens the blister pack the track phone came in, and scans the instructions. They're simple enough, and the phone comes with a 50% charge. 3 minutes later, it's live and ready to go. Danny considers writing down what he wants to say and decides there's no need. He's going to keep this brief so no one can trace the call. His first thought was the Belleville PD, but that's in a different county, and he knows the emergency number for the Kansas Highway Patrol. It's posted in the Wilder High School office and in the halls of both the old and the new wing, in schools all over the state, Danny supposes. Nobody says it's in case of an active shooter, because no one has to. He touches star 47. It rings just a single time. Kansas Highway Patrol, do you have an emergency? I want to report a buried body. I think it must be a murder victim. What's your name, sir? He almost gives it. Stupid. The body's located behind an abandoned Texaco station in the town of Gunnell. Sir, may I please have your name? You go up County Road F. You'll come to a rise. The gas station is at the top. Sir, just listen. The body is behind the station, all right? A dog was chewing on the hand of whoever's buried there. It's a woman or maybe a girl. I covered her hand with a trash barrel, but the dog will get that off pretty soon. Sir, I need your name and the location you're calling for. Gunnell, County Road F, about 3 miles in from the highway, behind the Texaco station. Get out of there. Get out there. You have to get her out of there. Please. Someone will be missing her. He ends the call. His heart is trifamering in his chest. His face is wet with sweat and his shirt is damp with it. He feels like he just ran a marathon, and the burner phone feels radioactive in his hand. He takes it to the trash barrel between the picnic tables, dumps it in, thinks better of it, fishes it out, wipes it all over his shirt, and tosses it in again. He's 5 miles down the road before recalling, also from some TV show or other, that he maybe should have taken out the SIM card, whatever that is. But he's not going back now. He doesn't think the police can trace calls made from burner phones anyway, but he's not going to risk going back to the scene of the crime. What crime? You reported a crime, for God's sake. Nevertheless, all he wants is to go home and sit in front of the television and forget this ever happened. He thinks about eating the lunch he packed, but he has no appetite. Now that his drinking days are over, Danny doesn't sleep in on even the weekends. Sunday morning, he's up at 6:30, eats a bowl of cereal, and turns on the KSNB morning report at 7. The big story is a 9-car pileup on I-70 west of Wilson. Nothing about a body being discovered behind an abandoned gas station. He's about to turn the TV off when the Sunday morning anchor, who probably needs to show ID to get a beer at a bar, says, "This just in. We have a report that a body has been discovered buried behind an empty building in the small town of Gunnell, not far from the Nebraska state line. Police have closed off a county road just north of town, and the site is under investigation. We'll update the story on our website and on the evening news." Danny goes to the station's website several times as the morning progresses, also the website of KAAS out of Salina. At 12:15, the KAAS website adds a 40-second clip of police cars blocking the entrance to County Road F. There's one other addition to the story he saw on the morning newscast. The body is said to be that of a woman, which isn't news to Danny. He goes across the trailer park to see Becky. He gets a nice hug from her daughter, a 9-year-old cutie named Darla Jean. Becky asks if he wants to go out and get a bag of burgers at Snack Shack. "You can take my car," she said. "I want to go too," Darla Jean says. "All right," Becky says, "but you go and change your shirt first. That one's all dirty." "She doesn't need to change," Danny says. "I'll just drive through." They get the burgers, plus fries and limeades, and eat in the shade behind Becky's trailer. It's nice there. Becky has a jacaranda tree that she has to water all the time because she says this kind of flora don't belong in Kansas. She asks if there's something on his mind because she twice had to repeat things she told him. Either that or you're going senile. "Just thinking about what I've got on for the next week," he says. "You sure you're not thinking about Margie?" "Talked to her yesterday," Danny says. "She thinks her boyfriend's going to pop the question." "Are you still carrying a torch for her? Is that it?" Danny laughs. "Not likely." "Danny," Darla Jean shouts, "watch me do a double somersault." So he does. That night, KSNB has a reporter on the scene. She looks unsure of herself. Definitely weekend help. She's standing in front of the police cars blocking County Road F from the turnout. Following an anonymous tip, KHP troopers were called to a deserted gas station in the town of Gunnell late yesterday afternoon. They discovered the body of an unidentified female buried behind the station, which, she consults her notes and brushes hair out of her eyes, which closed in 2012 when Route 119 was widened to 4 lanes. If the woman has been identified, KHP isn't saying. Certainly her identity won't be released to the press pending notification of next of kin. Police are not saying if she was murdered either, but given this isolated location, she shrugs as if to say, "What else?" "Back to you, Pete." She'll be identified soon enough, Danny thinks. The important thing is he hasn't been ID'd. He is just an anonymous tipster. My good deed for the year, he thinks. And who says no good deed goes unpunished? But then, just to be safe, he knocks on wood. Pat Grady shows up on time for work every day of the following week. Danny dares to hope Pat learned his lesson, but he'll never be the worker Jesse Jackson is. As the old-timers used to say, that young man knows how to squat and lean. Meanwhile, information about Danny's dream girl begins to accrete. Although not named, she's reported to be 24 and a resident of Oklahoma City. According to a friend, this unnamed girl had had enough of both her parents and community college and intended to hitchhike out to Los Angeles and go to hairdressing school. Maybe get work as an extra in the movies or TV shows. She made it as far as Kansas. The body had been there for a while. KHP detectives weren't saying how long, but long enough to be badly decomposed. Dog might have had something to do with that, Danny thought. She had been repeatedly stabbed, according to a police source. Also, sexually assaulted, which was a semi-polite way of saying raped. It was the end of the Thursday night story on the local news that made Danny uncomfortable. The stand-up reporter was older than the weekend woman, male, obviously part of the A-team. He was standing in front of the gas station where the tarmac was blocked with yellow police tape. Kansas Bureau of Investigation detectives are actively seeking the man who phoned in the original tip giving the location of the body. If anyone knows his identity, detectives hope they will come forward. Or if anyone recognizes his voice, listen. The screen showed the sort of silhouette some people use to hide their faces on social media. Then Danny heard his own voice. It was awesomely clear, hardly distorted at all. The body's located behind an abandoned Texaco station in the town of Gunnell, County Road F, about 3 miles in from the highway behind the Texaco station. Get her out of there, please. Someone will be missing her. He was starting to wish he'd left well enough alone, except when he thought of that chewed hand and forearm sticking out of the ground, he knew there was nothing well enough about it. He snapped off the television and spoke to the empty trailer. What I really wish is I never had that fucking dream. He paused, then added, and I hope I never have another one. Ooh, you guys. They have his voice. What's the chances? It's a small town. Small town. Everyone watches the news. Everyone listens to the news. Everyone knows everyone. I guarantee you someone is going to call the police and say, oh, that voice is Danny Coughlin. Let's see if I'm right. Check in next Thursday where we will continue to read Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. See you guys then. Bye.